Well, good morning, guys. I hope you're doing well, guys and ladies. Today, we're going to go and test out the Eastern Algarve rail network. And, I'm going to sort of evaluate it a lot. And we're going to figure out exactly how you buy the tickets. We're going to do what train stations to stop at, what you can do there, how far away they are from the towns, etc. So we're going to really check out the Eastern Algarve and see if it's well served by public transport. Now we're only going to do trains today because buses are just, oh my gosh, I don't know how to figure that out, but we'll figure it out later. So let's get on with the trains. Our first stop is I'm heading down to Loulé. And now there's one thing that you really need to do if you go to Loulé train station. And that's have a cheirinho. Now a cheirinho is basically a coffee with a side shot of madronho or bagaço, which is like a hard tack here in the Algarve made from strawberry bushes. And I just couldn't. Sorry, it was like 8 a.m. in the morning. I just couldn't. I'm not a hardcore, fully integrated Portuguese person yet. But hey, you guys go ahead and try it out. Vila Santo. As you can see, we're about to go on a wild journey through the Eastern Algarve by train. So first steps are to go from Loulé to Faro, and then you switch in Faro, and then you head out to Vila Santo, going through, stopping at every single station along the way. But actually, the first step is to book your ticket. So here's how. Okay, so head over to www.cp.pt and go right at the top and then click EN and you'll get English. And then you can basically do a search. See this orange bar up here? This shows you have outages, schedule changes, and strikes. And there have been quite a few strikes lately, so just keep your eye on that. Loulé to Vila Real de Santo, 2nd of August, just click submit. And then you get a whole list of all the ones that went out today. So here we go. So you can choose, let's go late tonight, 7 o'clock, arriving at 8:39. Wow, it's getting quite late. You can buy only the outward section. But there's an interesting point about buying stuff. When you take the train, this ticket that you're buying is only valid for one unbroken journey. So it actually doesn't, if you want to jump off on the way and have lunch in Olhão or, dinner in Vila and then only go to Vila de Santo afterwards, it makes sense to buy a whole bunch of tickets. And it's actually not that much more expensive when you add them all up like that. If you are planning to do a proper tour of the Algarve, you can get what they call a tourist pass, and that's valid for 2 days, or you can also buy 3 days, and it's $21 for the 2 days, I think, and you can just go along and hop on and hop off whenever you want. Okay, so the app is great for when you on mobile. Obviously, this is nice and it's easy to get going, but once you've got yourself an account, because to buy, you're going to have to make an account. Once you've got an account, just download the app from Comboios Portugal or CP, and then you'll be able to have almost exactly the same functionality in the palm of your hands. Now, you can see a man with a bicycle here. They are free. You can put them in the rear carriage or the front carriage. It's like right at the end, and as long as you chain them up, that's fine. But before we swap trains at Faro station and check out the toilet facilities, which is really exciting, let me just explain something that not all of these stations are very, very close to the town. So, for example, the Loulé station where I started at is actually called Loulé/Praia da Quatera. Now, Loulé itself is actually a 1 hour and 20-minute walk away from the station or a 12-minute ride by car. So be prepared for that, and I'll point out some of these stations along the way that are actually far away from the center of the villages. Is it not bad? let me just explain something about timing. So I arrived in Loulé and I left on the 0919 Loulé train to Faro, got there at 9:34, and then waited to change to the train going east to Vila Santo Antonio from Faro, and I jumped on at 9:55 and I arrived in Olhão at 10:06. Now I'm breaking my journey. I'd actually bought a ticket all the way through to Vila Santo Antonio for €7, and I just was so hungry at Olhão. I had to jump off and go and look for some breakfast and do a little walk around Olhão. So I'm breaking my journey and I'm going to risk it when I get back on and hope like hell. Otherwise, if I have to, I'll just buy another train ticket and it'll cost from Olhão to Vila Santo Antonio, it'll cost €4.80. So I'll be like, okay, fine, but I was just going to try and risk it. Let's tuck into breakfast. And I was looking for a healthy breakfast, and I don't know why, but I ended up with these delicious pancakes. It didn't make me feel so great, but they were pretty tasty. And I ended up on this massive walk through Olhão to try and see exactly. It took me about 15 minutes down and 15 minutes back, so it was good exercise. I hopped on the train again at about 11:45 and ready for the hour-long journey to Vila Santo Antonio. And you look at these seats here, they're actually great. The last time I was on these trains about a couple of years ago, they weren't that great, but now they've really been upgraded and they've got great leg room for me, and I'm a tall guy. It's a good thing. I was pleasantly surprised. The first train line in the Algarve was completed in 1889 and only went from Faro to Lisbon. So the Algarve section was from Faro to Messinas, or São Bartolomeu de Messinas in full. The Faro-Vila Santo Antonio line was completed in 1906 and the Lagos connection followed in 1922. In the mid-20th century, steam locomotives were replaced with diesel ones. And these days an electrification project began, actually in 2021, which will make the network cleaner and more efficient. So the whole Algarve line is 139 kilometers long, with about 30 stations and stops all the way along the route. From Faro to Vila Santo Antonio, there are 14 stops. So now there's 2 in Faro itself, Faro and Bom João. In Olhão, which is pretty much runs through the center of the city. There are 2 stops in Fuzeta, and I don't know why, it's such a small town, but there's Fuzeta A and then Fuzeta afterwards. And then Livramento, which seems to be in the middle of nowhere. Luz, serving Luz de Tavira. And then Tavira has 2 stops as well, Tavira itself and Porta Nova. Now, the next step along is in Conceição, which you could use for Cabana de Tavira as well, because it's about a 25-minute walk away. And possibly you could get to Benamor Golf Course from there as well. Next stop is Cacela, and it'll be a long walk, 45 minutes down to Cacela Velha, which is a gorgeous place for lunch. Really lovely little spot. Next up is Castro which kind of looks desolate at the moment. And then Monte Gordo, which you'll see on my way back from this journey. And finally, we cruise into Vila Santo Antonio. AlgarveAddicts.com. Many people express surprise when they realize that we have a business behind this channel. We are a fully fledged relocation support agency and a real estate agency where we work with only our YouTube followers, helping you guys with immigration and visa support, tax and financial advice, and all the other myriad of questions that you may have. We also offer relocation scouting tours, long-term rentals, and house purchases working for you, the buyer. So get in touch on AlgarveAddicts.com. Well, I've finally arrived at Vila Santo Antonio, and it's just 1 o'clock, so it's in time for lunch. and I think I'm going to head down and look for some lunch, but I'd also love to go for a little dip in the ocean. But so we're at the station here now, as you can see, Vila del Santo Antonio, and yeah, we had quite a long journey on these trains. Let's go and explore Vila del Santo Antonio. Okay, forgive me for being all first world and commercial-like here, but look at this place. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's marred by these ruins on the right-hand side, which are just really quite disgusting and dirty, and I don't know. Surely you would think that the local government would make this easy for people to develop in a nice, environmentally sustainable way, because imagine you have a couple of like really cool little restaurants, maybe a hotel, maybe whatever, or even just flats or apartments or something like that, but just in keeping with the traditions and the architectural style of Vila del Santo Antonio. Wouldn't that be a good idea? Wouldn't it be good for the local economy? Or are you just, I'd love to hear your comments, because this is obviously quite a contentious issue. You're talking about over-tourism, etc. like that. You're talking about development. You're talking about eradicating the people's culture. But look at this. This is not culture. This is mess. Look, I found an antidote to my mess. This is exactly what I was talking about. The 818 Centro Nautico complex includes a fantastic restaurant with awesome food, but more importantly, super friendly waiters and a mind-blowing view. I didn't even have to get up to film this. They have a pool open to the public, which is $15 per person in the morning and $15 per person in the afternoon. They've got accommodation, they've got a rooftop bar, they've got canoes, jet skis, boat tours. I mean, like, well done, guys. This is exactly what I was whinging about the lack of earlier. You know, so a glass of rosé and some pork cheeks filled me up perfectly, and I was ready to walk on in a large arc around to Monte Gordo station, through the pine forest and onto the beach, then stop for a coffee, and then station home. Okay, so lunch is done, and now I've got one more mission. I've got to get down to Monte Gordo through this pine forest. I think I might actually just go along the beach, and then I'm going to try and grab a coffee at another beach club, which looks awesome, and then hustle it back. So I'm here at the Prime Beach Club. Now I've been told by one of my wonderful followers on Instagram that this is an amazing beach club. So let's go in and check it out. Just want to get a coffee, that's all. And we're going to see what it looks like inside, because, you know, decor is important. You know, it's hot, as you can see. Sorry guys, I didn't like it. It just felt way too posh, and I just didn't feel very comfortable in there. And the people were great, you know, the service was right. It just wasn't super friendly and welcoming, and just felt odd. So anyway, moving on. Alright, so I've arrived at Monte Gordo station. And wow, this is desolate. There's nothing here. I was expecting a nice little cafe. At least there's some shade, I guess. But yeah, it's at the dead end of a road. And as usual in the Algarve, it's nowhere near the town. So anyway, it's one of those stations. There's a couple of stations you've got to be careful of here. As we slide into the Castromarine station, which looks like a bombed out World War II bomb shelter that's been hit directly, the eternal question comes up to me: why is Portugal littered with so many ruins? Come on, guys, give us your opinions down in the comments. Well, I just got back in my car and it says 42 degrees in the temperature gauge. I don't know where it is. I don't know where the temperature gauge is, but it's hot. Anyway, so it took me the whole day to go all the way to Vila Santo Antonio and back. And I left pretty early this morning. I was up down here about 8 o'clock, 8ish. So there I was thinking that I'd go all the way to Vila Santo Antonio and back to Faro, and then from Faro all the way to Lagos and back to Faro, and actually Loulé. And I just, there's no ways you can do that. I might be able to do that next week, and I think I'm going to do that next week. I'm going to go and show you the Western Algarve rail trip, because it's important. You know, these things, a lot of people think that the trains are a certain way. You really need to know what the trains are like, and they're actually, when they work, they're amazing. I was sitting with a lot of Portuguese people today, and they were like bitching and moaning about the trains are terrible down here in the Algarve. Seemed fine to me today. Maybe I just got it on a lucky day, because the last time I was on doing a train test, it didn't work so well. Anyway, see you next week. Algarve Addicts.